I got a call from a dear client of mine a couple of months ago, and the very first thing he said to me when I picked up the phone was, "Richen, you can say no." I said, "Well, what are we talking about here?" He says, "Do you want to help my parents buy a house? They've been looking for 5 years." Welcome to House Money, my friends. I am Rychen Jones, your host. I'm an associate broker here in the Salt Lake City area, and this was my experience the last couple of months, helping my clients' parents find a home after they have been looking for 5 years. Even if you're not a cash buyer, these principles will apply. Also, if you are a buyer's agent, these lessons are going to apply as you're helping cash buyers or other buyers. But a very interesting experience, unlike any I have had in my 7+ years of real estate. Let me set this up for you. So I meet his parents, who are like the best people you will ever meet. And they've been living in this house that they own free and clear for the last 4, 5, 6 years. And it's too small. They can't have family gatherings. They can't have the kids and the grandkids over for Thanksgiving, Christmas. They've been spending holidays at other people's homes, at their kids' homes that are large enough to hold a large family gathering. And they've been looking for a house literally for 5 years. And this is a judgment free zone. He's one of those people that watches Zillow not just once a day, but multiple times a day. And I love that. I love that buyers are more involved in the process. They're looking at homes online. I often tell my buyers, don't be surprised if you find a house that you want to go see before I see it, because I'm out in appointments and doing different things with different clients throughout the day. I don't check Zillow every time a listing hits the market. I have times during my day when I do check that. But this gentleman checks Zillow multiple times a day in multiple areas for everything that's on the market. I joked with him at the end of our experience together that he can come help me sell real estate because he's as tuned into the market as anybody I've ever met. But they've been looking at homes on Zillow and for 5 years, and a lot's happened in the Salt Lake market in the last 5 years, as you know. Prices are up 40, 50, 60%, depending on what type of home and what area you're looking in. And so there is this feeling of we're overpaying for a property because they've been looking for so long. They haven't ever actually had an agent during that time. They go to open houses, they call sellers directly, ask if they can come see the home. They are unafraid to go knock on a door of a seller and say, "This is who we are. We saw your house on Zillow. We like what we see from the pictures, from the specs, things like that. Are we okay to come in and look at it?" I love that about them. It created some interesting experiences throughout our journey together. But I love that they're paying attention to what homes are coming to the market. They had a very, very clear idea of what they were looking for. And as we went through this experience, the first time I met them, we saw this house that they saw on Zillow. They wanted to go see it. I found what I thought were a couple of other homes similar to what they were looking at, and so that we were seeing more than just the one home on the one day. We actually saw 3 homes that first day, I believe. And as I walked into the first home with them, I got handed a handwritten piece of paper with pros and cons on each side of the piece of paper written in pencil. And they were things that they already liked about this house and things that they already didn't like about this house, just based on the pictures, driving by, the different resources that they had access to. And they weren't looking for anything unreasonable. A couple of interesting things were on the cons list, things that they needed, things that they wanted. They wanted every bathroom to have a medicine cabinet built into the wall. They hated the big mirrors that we see a lot of bathrooms now. They hated that. They felt like it was inefficient, that it just means that there's stuff all over the counters. And so one important thing to them was having a medicine cabinet in all the bathrooms, especially the master bathroom. There were other things about, size of kitchen and things like that. Master bedroom, primary bedroom, we're calling it now, had to be on the main level, for stairs issues, things like that. Had to have a basement with a kitchen, ideally separate entrance. Again, things they're looking for to be able to entertain family and friends and things of that nature. They would like the warm woods, different colors. They like the brick exterior. They want a certain feel in the neighborhood, and obviously location and size of home were important as well. And so we walked into this first home, and it was a pretty home. It was a beautiful home. And just looking at their list in front of me that they had handed me, I could tell very quickly this was not the right house for a number of reasons. But it was my first house with them that we had seen. And so I took the opportunity to ask a number of questions. And what do you think about this? How would you use this space? And obviously, it was not the right house. So we went and saw the second and third homes that I had recommended that we go see while we were in that area. And each house got a little bit better, a little bit closer. But I could tell early on that something had happened. And this is not uncommon for people who see lots and lots of homes, whether it's over the course of 5 years or 5 days. I don't think it really matters. But I could tell what was happening is they had looked at so many homes that they had this idea in their head of what they were looking for that would be the perfect home. But it was a conglomeration of I don't know how many different homes. A kitchen in home A, the location in home B, how the layout laid out in home C. They had all these different parts of homes mashed together in their minds of what the perfect house was going to look like. I could tell that very early on because they had seen so many homes and the things that they were sharing with me about, well, you remember that house on such and such street that had this, and the house, man, I really wish this had the kitchen of the house on such and such street and in such and such city. So I knew I was going to have my work cut out for me here because I knew from the very first time I met them, within about 10 minutes, that we were not going to find the perfect house. Now, that's not to say I wasn't willing to help them. It meant that I had to understand what their vision was. And that's the first of the 5 lessons learned from a cash buyer. I had to understand what their vision was so I could then help them. And lesson number 2 is I had to help them see the vision in the home that they ultimately ended up buying. But first, I had to understand their vision, not just their vision for what they wanted the house to look like, but for how they were going to use the home, primarily when they were there by themselves, and secondarily when they had company over, whether it's kids, grandkids. Maybe that was a weekend stay by a family, or one of their kids and grandkids coming into town for a weekend or a week or whatever it may be, as well as large gatherings, holiday gatherings, things like that. So I had to understand how they were going to use the space, how they're going to use the house, the yard, where the location needed to be so it was most ideal for them to be able to interact with their kids and grandkids and things like that. And once I got an idea of that and understood what their vision was, my job was not any easier, but I at least knew what I was looking for. And then I had to put on glasses to be able to see what a home could become relative to what their vision was. See, these clients of mine, they were going to be cash buyers. They told me if they had found the very perfect house, they could go up to about 1.4 million. And in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, we're not going to find everything you're looking for here in a single house. So we're probably going to be doing some pretty serious remodeling depending on what the house is. And they were okay with that. They were totally okay with finding a home that they remodeled to make it the way they want. And so with purchase price and remodel, we need to come in somewhere between the 1.3 and 1.4 million dollar range, ideally less if we can find it, but we are not going to find a perfect home. So that became lesson number 2 is as I was searching for homes, I had to find homes that I felt were close enough in a number of areas that I could help them see the vision for what it could become after they were done and land that in the price range that they were willing to pay for everything. I had to help them see that vision. As I'm going through homes, I would go through the pictures of the home meticulously, looking at do the bathrooms have medicine cabinets? Where is the pantry located relative to the range and oven? What does the colors of the kitchen look like? What does the layout? Which direction does the backyard face? How much maintenance will the yard be? I would look through the pictures of these homes meticulously, trying to find ones I felt fit the best. And so I ended up sending them this home. I said, hey guys, I feel like this home is as close to what we're looking for as anything we've seen on the market in the last 60 days or so, 30 to 60 days. And they looked at it a couple times, and his first objection was, well, there's an HOA. I said, yes, let's talk about HOAs. Not all HOAs are created equal. My job is to present this information to you and help you process what you're feeling, what you're thinking about it. The HOA was essentially $12 a month, $150 a year, and it basically maintained an outside grass strip and an outside fence to the neighborhood itself. There were no amenities, there was no trails or clubhouse or pool or anything like that. It was entirely this grass strip and this fence on the outside of the community that was maintained. So we got the CCNRs for the HOA. He could see all the details of the rules and regulations and all the things, but they put the house aside for a couple of weeks, decided it wasn't for them. Okay, that's fine. I go back to my job of looking for other homes that might make sense for them. A couple of weeks later, I send it to him again. I said, hey, this home is still on the market. I really think we should go take a look at this one. I know the HOA issue is there, but let's just go look at this house. And at that point, they told me, well, we've actually already been inside of that house. Tell me more about that. Like, oh yeah, we went and drove by and we knocked on the door and talked to the sellers and they let us in and they show us around. There was original owner that they had built the house back in 2000 and lovely couple. And they showed us around and we were telling them the things that we were going to remodel and things that we were going to do. And we were going to knock out that wall and put in a pantry here. And my heart is just sinking. I'm like, oh my gosh, you walked into somebody's house who built it, who were the only owners of it. And you're telling them all the things you're going to change about it and do differently to it. And again, I don't fault them. They're lovely people, and they did what they thought they needed to do. But funny experience. Ultimately, we go see the house. I walk them through it. I helped them see the vision of what it could be based upon what it was and based on the price point. Now, I knew that with the work that they were probably going to do to any given house, they were probably going to put in $200 to $300,000 on a remodel just based upon the things that I knew they wanted. So I knew in my search, I probably needed to find them something at $1 million or less on the purchase price. So we go see this house, and it had just had a price reduction in the previous week or so, down to 995, and beautiful community, beautiful neighborhood. The three most recent sales in the neighborhood were at 1.9 million to 2.4 million. Both those homes were significantly bigger. This home was about 5,800 square feet. Those were both in the 7,800 to 8,000 square feet. So bigger homes. But as I looked at that, and my conversation with them was, there's no way you can overbuild this home with what you're going to do to a remodel. You cannot overbuild this because you have homes selling for twice this price for a little bit more space. So you're going to be fine in what you do to remodel it here. And this is lesson number 3. I had to help give them perspective on the market and the market dynamics that were in play at this point. For what they were looking for what they were telling me, with what they liked and what they wanted, and with what they wanted the finished product to look like, I knew that we were not looking at any home built after about 2015. They loved that early 2000s warm wood color and brown granite countertops and things like that. They loved that. That's what they were looking for. More recently built homes, we see a lot of the white quartz, white and grays. They hated that. They wanted nothing to do with that. And they didn't want anything older than that either. So I knew we were looking for a home probably built between 2000 and 2012, 2013, maybe pushing it a little bit, but definitely not anything newer than 2015. And so I had to help them understand that, okay, this is the house we're looking for, with the space built in this time range, with some different things about it, main level living and things like that. And I had to help them understand that the market is such right now that this home is only available in a couple of places in the area that you're looking, in the county you're looking at. And so we were really focused on that area. And so when we sent them this particular house, I said, hey, this home checks a lot of the boxes that you can't change: price point, space, location, main level living, some of the non-negotiable factors that also couldn't be changed by any sort of remodel. So that was lesson number 3, was I had to help them get perspective on, are you likely to find a home that you're looking for that you can work with somewhere else? Or how often do these homes come up in the price range we're looking for that have a number of these things that you could remodel and end up in your final price point? I had to give proper perspective on what the market dynamics were for what they were looking for. So we walked through this house. We decided that we're going to make an offer on it. And this home had been on the market for like 200 days at this point. And of course, the same day we make the offer, there's another offer that gets submitted as well, which isn't entirely unlikely given the size of the price drop they had done a week before. But now all of a sudden we're competing with an offer. And that of course brings up emotions for buyers when they feel like they finally find a home that they like enough to make an offer on, and now they're competing with another offer. They don't always love doing that, and so that creates emotions of, well, I don't want to pay more than I have to, but how much do we need to pay? And the agent on the other side was fantastic. She communicated like a champ, advocated for her clients just as well, but also we had really good communication, good rapport. And as she was presenting both offers to her sellers that evening, it was taking a long time. She texted me after about an hour and a half and was like, hey, we just finished reviewing the other offer. We're just now getting to yours. And I kind of joked with her. I said, hey, that's going to be a long night. Do you want me to DoorDash you guys some food? And she said, haha, you're very kind. I said, no, I am 100% dead serious. If you need me to send some food, I will send food. And she joked that she knew it was going to be a long night already, so she brought dinner with her for everybody. It's a small thing that, fight for your clients, even if it means door dashing food to the agent and the sellers while they're reviewing offers. So we got to this place where my clients were happy with making a 985 offer. And we made that offer, and they had some things they needed with some due diligence time because they wanted to get some contractors in there. Ultimately, we were not the offer that was chosen, which was heartbreaking to my clients. There was just some things there that the sellers felt like the other offer was a better offer to work with, and that happens. But I thanked the agent. I said, oh, be in touch with me. Let me know how it goes because we love this house and we want to work with it. So not 24 hours later, I get a phone call from the agent that says, hey, you're not going to guess what just happened. I said, no, I know exactly what happened. Your other offer just fell through, right? She goes, yep. So do you guys want to get back in? So we had this discussion, and ultimately we were going to offer a price of $970. And my sellers weren't real thrilled about that. But I had to remind them that 48 hours earlier, they had been willing to pay 985 for this house. And now they were going to be able to get it if they wanted it for 970. So we had that discussion. Ultimately, they decided to move forward, be under contract. And this is lesson number 4. I had to give them perspective on what their price point was and pricing of homes and how that works and where they needed to be with the remodels that they were going to do and show them the comps of the homes that are sold in the neighborhood. They originally wanted to offer, I think it was 955, I believe it was, to help them understand that they wanted to buy the house at 955. They were willing to pay 985 for it, and they were getting the opportunity to buy it at 970 in a neighborhood where the two most recent sales were at 1.9 million and 2.4 million. And helping them understand that dynamic, that $15,000 that they were quote unquote saving from what they were willing to pay 48 hours earlier at 985, that's $15,000 that they just opened up to put towards their remodel, that they wouldn't have had 48 hours earlier. Fourth lesson was help the buyers get perspective on their price point and the pricing of homes, of this particular home in particular, as well as putting their remodel on top and showing them that even with an a high end remodel for what they're looking for, they could still land very comfortably in that 1.3 to 1.4 million dollar all in purchase price remodel range. We went under contract. We had a couple of particular needs, including an extra long due diligence period. They wanted to bring in a number of different contractors because it was going to be a pretty extensive remodel. And initially the clients wanted a 21-day due diligence, which I had to help them understand again that in this market with a cash offer, there are not very many sellers that are going to be willing to give a 21-day due diligence for any reason. I don't think I've gotten a 21-day due diligence since 2018 because during COVID, due diligence periods were cut way down, even getting rid of them in some cases, although I think that's realtor malpractice if you're recommending that. But we got to a place where, due diligence was 5 days, 6 days, 7 days. Comfortably right now, I'd say between 10 and 14 days. But 21 days, wow, I haven't gotten 21 days on due diligence, like I said, since like 2018. And that's what they wanted. They were insistent that they have 21 days to bring in contractors, do their inspections, get bids back. And so we were able to negotiate that. We negotiated a 21-day due diligence on a cash offer with a 28-day close. And this became the fifth lesson from this cash buyer was I had to help them get perspective on what a seller's expectations are in this market, in particular this seller. And I had to help them understand that, hey, we've found a seller that's willing to give us 21 days for due diligence and 28 days to close. Not a lot of sellers, if any, are going to be able or willing to give that to us as a cash offer on top of trying to find the home in the right area with the right specs at the right price to do what you want to do to help you accomplish your vision. So we went through all of these different things, and there were a number of other things that came up through that 21-day due diligence. Ultimately, what happened is they went through with the purchase at 970. They are starting their remodel. They are going to be able to celebrate Thanksgiving and Christmas in their own home with their kids and their grandkids for the first time in years. And the wife is super excited about it. She's thrilled by the idea of having that. They have this huge basement with a kitchen and a huge family room and a couple of bedrooms and a couple of bathrooms that grandkids from out of town can stay at. They're going to redo the kitchen in a way that she can bake with her grandkids. They've got this outdoor space that looks at the mountain. It's beautiful. It's going to be everything they want it to be. But I had to help them see the vision of that house by first understanding what their vision was for it. The third lesson had to help them understand what the dynamics of the market are right now with regards to what they're looking for and inventory and what are we likely to see or not see coming on the market. I had to help them understand price point and pricing of the home, including what they're going to do in the remodel and can we budget this to where we land in the right price point overall. And then finally, I had to help them understand what sellers' expectations and needs are in our market today. Oftentimes, sellers need every dollar out of their home because they have to go buy another home. And they're going to be in the same position as my clients were on the buy side. We got to make every dollar work here for both parties. So ended up being a fantastic situation. I've come to love these people. I always love these people. Definitely made me stretch a little bit and learn how to help a buyer who with very specific needs and who needed some help understanding some different aspects of the market. But it started with me being able to understand what their vision was and then help them see the vision of this home. So to my client who started the conversation with, it's okay, Rychen, you can say no. My parents need help buying a house. They've been looking for 5 years. Of course, the answer was yes, even before I knew what the situation was. because if one of my clients is calling me and asking me for a real estate question or help for someone that they know or a loved one, in this case, his parents, absolutely the answer is yes. And I'm so glad that he called me, and so glad to have had this experience where I could fight for my client in ways I have not had to fight for clients before. It really made me stretch and think about it and think about what I was doing, knowing that I had to be able to help them see the vision and help them see that this was potentially the best option for them, and look forward to watching them celebrate those holidays with their family in coming years, and becoming a part of their sort of extended non-blood family as we continue to deepen our relationship. So 5 lessons learned from a cash buyer. There they are. I appreciate you listening and joining us today. If you feel like this is helpful for you or somebody you know, please share with them, leave a comment, subscribe, and we will talk to you next time on House Money.